Hey guys, welcome or welcome back. Tisha here for another recap of Where is Wendy Williams? One more episode after this, and I'm so happy because you guys, watching this is kind of draining. So, Alex, who is Wendy's niece, said something towards the end of this episode that makes complete sense to me. She said she doesn't see how anyone who looks at her aunt can't see how she has deteriorated over the last year. It's despicable that they're doing what they're doing. How could you take her to any form of meeting seeing her like that? And she's right. We begin this episode with Wendy letting us know that she's bored and she wants to get back on TV. So her niece Alex has flown in from Florida to check on her auntie because she's seen how erratic her behavior has gotten and she hasn't seen her in about a year. I'm going to assume that she saw something online because in a previous episode, she let us know that every day she basically checks social media, Google, things of that nature, types in her aunt's name to see what comes up and what's going on with her. So while she's en route, she's talking to the producers about how excited she is to see her. And you can visibly see it. Like she gets a little sparkle in her eye while she's talking about her auntie. She's telling them what she feels like the conversation may look like when she walks in. She says she's going to say to Wendy, "How are you?" And Wendy's going to say, "Better than you." And then they're going to have a chuckle about it. She talks about how amazing her aunt is, how beautiful, talented, funny, smart, and iconic she is. And while she says this, tears are starting to come down her face. I appreciated Alex's input at times. I can very much see that Wendy was a big influence on Alex and that Alex tends to take a lot after her aunt, even in the way that she interacts with her later on. But I just felt so bad watching Alex, but we'll get into it. This young lady, Alex, is a news anchor and a reporter, and she basically got into the industry because of her Aunt Wendy. So she walks in extremely excited to see her aunt. Remember, the whole car ride over, she was talking about how excited she was, how it's been over a year, and she's just really excited to see her. She walks in, and Wendy recognizes her, says hi, but she's busy fiddling with the TV, trying to get the TV to turn on. They haven't seen each other in over a year, and there's no embrace. And it's weird. Alex immediately notices that there are several things missing in her aunt's apartment. Now, Wendy points out to her that they're not missing, they're over there because she's moving. So you see some picture frames and some boxes, and she says, "I can't get around because of my feet, so I'm going to move to a one-story flat." Now, even though she says this and you would think it would be over, you can tell Alex is still bothered by it, which means it's more than just it's over there. There's a lot of stuff that she noticed that was missing for that to be so significant to her. So Wendy points out how much she needs that one-story flat. Wendy is supposed to be broke. That's what she told us in the first episode. But Wendy still has money coming in, because how is Wendy able to be doing certain things like move without money? How many things has she sold? Where exactly did that wad of money that we see her with last episode that we found out that Will gave her come from? She's getting money from more than just her guardian. So she's asked when she's planning on moving, because Alex wants to know when she's planning on moving. And she's like, "I'm not going to say that." I already told you that. So Alex is like, okay, well, I guess I need to try to recall what you told me. And then she holds up her hand like this and she whispers, it's in 3 weeks. So she plans on moving in 3 weeks. I want to know who she's trying to keep this a secret from. Was it the production crew or somebody else? Because why did she feel the need to whisper that? So we hear her talking about Sean. Apparently Sean was in the couch or something sleeping. Sean comes in the room and, well, no, I'm jumping ahead. Wendy begins to tell her about Sean, and she's like, yeah, I don't know who Sean is. And she says, Sean told me that I have no money in Wells Fargo, like zero. I want to know how Sean would know how much money Wendy has or doesn't have in the bank, because Sean is not the guardian. So Sean shouldn't know anything concerning financial matters because Sean shouldn't have access to anything. So that's a little flag to me. You all let me know what you think. Let alone know that it's $0 because even Wendy herself doesn't have access to the account to see it. While she's telling the niece this, Alex, she's looking like she's concerned. So according to Wendy, she's going to sue everybody that's involved because she's had billions of dollars and now there's nothing in there. Now we know that this is an exaggeration. We know that Wendy did not have billions of dollars, but at one point she did have millions. So she tells Alex that her guardian has stolen her account. We then see Sean enter the room. And when I say you can immediately tell that Alex isn't feeling this so-called publicist, you can immediately tell, and neither am I. So she tells her, because Alex wants to know, how did you even get involved with my aunt? How did you meet her? And she's like, oh, Wendy's previous attorney reached out to me so that I can start doing crisis and PR management for the Wells Fargo situation. So is she a manager or a publicist? Because I'm confused what a PR manager is. It's all these different terms and titles for all these different people. But in this show, you've been labeled as her publicist, but you're saying that her old attorney reached out to you to be a crisis and PR manager. Which one is it? So I don't understand why the guardian can't handle the Wells Fargo situation since the judge came into play and the guardian was put into place. What exactly is the current standing of this situation? Oh, that's right. We can't find out because everything is sealed. So as she's sitting there beside her and Wendy's, talking, Alex gets up, grabs her coat and walks off. She says she doesn't want to speak to her aunt with this person present. She's talking about Sean. And I don't blame her because I don't feel like Sean can be trusted. She's talking to production because production is trying to, feel her out. And she's like, this is all very jarring to me. I don't know this person and I don't like what I'm seeing. And all of my aunt's stuff is gone. I do not want to talk to her. I don't want to talk to my aunt with her present. So production is like, I can get her out the room, whatever. So they call Sean. As Sean comes out there, Sean is trying to talk to her like, did I do something wrong, whatever, because she can tell that Alex doesn't like her. So she was like, I don't even know you and I don't want to talk to you. Just like blatant like that. I like that she got straight to the point. Sean ends up leaving so that her niece can go and talk to her. And while all of this is going on, Wendy, who is normally so keenly aware, is oblivious to this situation. So after she leaves, you hear her saying, this lady came out of nowhere and I don't need her fake behind to be in the middle of my relationship with my aunt. Wendy is then talking to Alex because Alex is trying to get more information. And Wendy lets her niece know that she does pay Sean. And she says Wendy does. And all of a sudden, she's more than PR because she understands finance as well. The next thing you know, a fire is lit under Alex's butt because Alex goes in. You hear her say, I'm going to be honest with you, Aunt. It's no secret that there are random people around you getting money from you, and the situation is getting desperate. Because you shouldn't have to pay for friends. You're an A-list celebrity that is bigger, better, and smarter than this. The Aunt Wendy that I know isn't this person. There are people who are around you who are getting paid and telling you stuff that you want to hear or stuff that makes you feel good. I need you to listen to the people who aren't taking a dime from you in order to be around you, or who aren't profiting from being around you and telling you what it is that you want to hear. Alex means well, but her delivery is off. You have to watch how you talk to people, especially when they're in this vulnerable of a state. And Wendy being who Wendy is, you know she's going to shut it down. So Wendy, to me, is not about to start kicking these people out and kicking them to the curb because she's alone. She doesn't want to be alone. And if I kick these people out, I'm going to be even more lonely than I already am. Her family is in Florida and her mind is altered. So I don't know what exactly she thought that Wendy was going to do at that moment. So she tells Alex to relax. She goes, I hear you, Alex, relax. And then she goes, I'm done. And she doesn't hug her niece goodbye, kiss her goodbye, anything like that. She gets up off the couch and goes upstairs and says she's done for the day. When she's upstairs, production is asking Alex, what happened? And Alex is like, I spoke to my aunt the way that she taught me to speak. And I told her exactly what I believe to be true. They then ask her, is this what, how you would normally be greeted? And they get on the subject of how normally what her aunt would tell her is that there's food and water in the fridge. So production says, can you go open the fridge? And she says, no, I don't want to. I don't know what she was afraid of seeing if she opened the fridge, but she did not want to open the fridge. So you then have production telling her that there is no food in the fridge. And when she when she's told this, you see a change in Alex. And she begins to cry. She's holding her head down and she's crying and the tears are just streaming. And she ends up getting off and walking away. And I believe in that moment, the reality of her aunt situation, the reality of that situation hit her. It hit her hard. Because it's one thing to read things. It's a whole nother thing to see it firsthand for yourself. So she says she's tried to talk to the Guardian. What started off as friendly conversation is now non-existent conversation. So there's only so much she can do on that end. Another day. We flash to Wendy's managers, which at this point, because she has so many of them, is Will and Keisha. We find out that in March of 2023, Wendy flew to Los Angeles without letting her manager Will or the Guardian know. So she's on the phone with Will telling him that she'll be back in 3 weeks. She says, I flew with the black girl, which lets you know she is struggling with her memory right here because she can't think of Sean's name. She's calling her the black girl. So this is yet another name that she has for Sean. So Will knows now that Sean came and got her without his knowledge and took her on a flight. So Wendy tells him, I'm going to be here. Okay, if I can't be here for 3 weeks, I'm going to be here for 2 weeks because I got plenty of stuff to do. And he starts cursing and yelling at her, telling her that she needs to come back now. Will is only worried to me about her coming back because he doesn't want to get caught up with the Guardian and he doesn't want to get cut off from that money or whatever dynamic he has. Keisha says she's wild. Will says she's not wild. She's just selfish and immature. And I'm looking like, okay, Will, no, it's more like she's sick. And Will is selfish and immature because I guarantee you that Will benefits financially every time Wendy steps out of that household. Because the whole reason why he called Wendy in the first place is because he said, we got things to do. Not that you have appointments to make, not that you have to meet with the judge, not that you have an appointment with your guardian. We have things to do. In other words, I have something planned for you that's going to make you money and make me money. I wouldn't be surprised if he was letting newspapers and magazines and paparazzi know when Wendy will be somewhere. How are you supposed to be a manager for this woman when you can't even admit that she's having delays, that she's not the person that she used to be? So Sean calls Will because she knows she's busted. She lies saying that Wendy called her frantic because there was no food in the house. She asked Will to bring it to her, according to Sean. This is what she said, Wendy said. She asked you to bring it to her and you didn't. How does no food being in the house then turn to this impromptu trip to California? It makes no sense. She tells Will that Wendy said that she needs to get out there. Please, please come and get me, and don't tell Will. If Sean was really that concerned about Wendy not having food, all she had to do was, I don't know, call somebody to do a welfare check, order some food from Uber Eats and have it sent there, call Will and find out what's going on. But she didn't do it because Sean has her own agenda. So Sean says she was petrified, and Will's like, she should be petrified because you put me in a position now where I look like an idiot because the guardian is going to wonder where she's at. He then tells the camera that he got a text from the guardian asking where is Wendy, and that he's afraid to answer the text. Because rather than really being worried about Wendy, he's worried about how it's going to look to the guardian and how the guardian isn't going to trust him. He says it his own self. They go to commercial break. We come back from commercial break. And now we're in LA where we see Wendy. It's been 2 days since she left California. It left and arrived in California. So they sent a film crew out there to capture Wendy. We see Wendy in her outfit and they go in bathroom because Wendy says she needs help. So we can overhear Sean saying, NBC said that they can meet us between 1 and 3. This is a lady who can't help herself from yelling at Sean. A lady that calls her black girl when she can't remember her name. A lady that told her she needs liposuction. A lady that had her riding around in the car, yelling at her about getting some e-cigarettes and making sure they drive past the Wendy show, even though they did that multiple times. And you want to put her in a meeting to talk with NBC for what? Who does that? I'll tell you who does it. A dirtbag by the name of Sean. Wendy says, what does the meeting have to do with? Does it have to deal with me, being on TV? And Sean says yes. And now Wendy is all in. Because Wendy is jumping at every opportunity to get back on our screens, even if it means she'll be embarrassed. So she comes out of the bathroom and she's all smiles with her Gucci shirt and stockings and her booty shorts and her white fuzzy boots because she's excited about being on TV. You got Sean saying, do you see the difference in her attitude? I'm telling you. Sean does not get a cookie for putting fame before this lady's health. So they're going to meet with Universal NBC to pitch a talk show because she's eager to get back on TV. But she says, I don't want to be here in Miami. I want to be in New York. They're not in Miami. They're in California. So even here, Wendy is a little thrown off about where she is. They then ask Wendy about why her show ended. We see a whole bunch of newspaper clippings and all those other things about how staffers said they found bottles of alcohol up in the ceiling tiles and all these other weird places in the office. And they ask Sean about it. And Sean just says, I feel like it's a lie. At this point, to me, it doesn't matter why the Wendy show ended. What matters is that they need to do something to help Wendy with her health now. So her nephew says he doesn't think that she's healthy enough to work. Her niece feels like she's being pushed to do too much just to line other people's pockets, which goes back to me saying that's why Will wanted her back in New York. And that's clearly why Sean wants her here in LA. They're taking turns making money off of her. Will claims his only concern is making sure that Wendy's safe. Production says, when did you meet Sean, Wendy? And she says, a few hours ago in New York. And Sean can't see that this is a problem, that Wendy doesn't remember when she met you. Sean is more offended by her making a statement like that than she is about being concerned that Wendy can't remember when she met her. Because we know it's been over a year. And so does production. So I feel like production is asking certain questions because it's proving that there are problems here. Wendy says, now that I've gotten to know her, I like her more than I like Will. Because Will was screaming at me and he was screaming at Sean. Wendy isn't liking Will because currently he's not allowing her to do what she normally does because she's being filmed. That's what it all boils down to. When you tell Wendy no, she begins to have a problem with you and she wants to dismiss you. And looking at it, I think that's what she did with her son. I'm not saying that there weren't charges made by her son or family or whoever made the charges, because it's still up in the air about that. But it's clear that she was doing better when she was with the family because they were monitoring her alcoholism. So now Wendy says she wants a new manager. Production says, Sean, would you be her manager? And she goes, I'm her publicist, but I guess I am doing managerial things though. Did she not tell Alex that she was hired as a crisis PR manager? So which is it? Wendy talks about getting her star, how packed it was, how much love she felt. She says it meant everything to her because when she dies, that star is still going to be right there. As they are showing these flashbacks, it's so obvious how much Wendy has changed, even from 2019, which at that time, this would be 2 years since then. 2 to 3, we'll say. The life and the joy to me has left her eyes. Wendy makes it known that she loves being famous. She loves being able to roll down the window and have someone recognize her. It's so dangerous when that's the only way that you can seem to find joy, that you have to look to other people for joy. And it just seems like that's what she's doing. They arrive at the star. She doesn't realize she is at first. Then they tell her where she is. So she's like, okay, she goes out, stands on her star, and she's recognized by some people who are walking by. And she immediately gets excited. They ask for a picture. You hear them say her iconic, how you doing? And her response to them is, thank you. When normally she would repeat that phrase back. She's being asked questions by her fans, and her responses are so off that I find myself cringing. They're asking you if you're going to come back to TV, and you say, yeah, and I'm going to be telling them about wearing things like this. This is the type of stuff I'm going to, it was off. And I'm like, oh my gosh, ooh. She gets back in the car. They go out to eat. It's 12, and she's drinking Grey Goose right before her meeting. And she keeps letting it be known that she's going to let Universal know that this is going to be her outfit, and she's got to show them her feet. Why would Sean encourage this woman to show her feet? Will calls. She goes, it's Will. I'm going to put him on speaker. What? I was like, well, goodness gracious. She really I ain't feeling well right now. I need you. What? He's like, I'm just calling to check on you. And she's like, I'm at lunch with Sean. He goes, I know you're with Sean. What are you eating? She hangs up on him. I'm like, dang. He then sits there and he says, she knows that I know she's been drinking. And that's why she did that. So my next call is going to be to the Guardian. The only reason why he's calling the Guardian at this point is because he's pissed because he's not making any money off of Wendy with her being gone. It has nothing to do with her drinking because she's been drinking the entire time that we've been seeing the production team there filming her. Why didn't he call the Guardian when he found the bottle of Kettle One or when he claims he found bottles of alcohol in the bathroom under the sink? Don't call the Guardian now. He says, I need to get her back to New York, plain and simple, because she shouldn't be drinking no matter where she is. He's full of crap. Like, full of all the crap. I looked it up to see what animal produces the most crap, and it said a blue whale. So he's full of blue whale crap. I'm serious, y'all. I looked this up for real. Okay, so you guys, Sean telling production that she's never witnessed Wendy being drunk before in her life. As we see Wendy telling the lady, yeah, I need another bottle of this. I need another bottle of this. And she's vaping. She's doing more drinking than she is eating. I don't even recall seeing her eat, even though she said everything looks great. We hear again, Sean say, I told you all this. She knows her limit. Then we see a clip of Wendy knocked out in the Louis Vuitton store, Louis Vuitton, however you say that name, laid out in the store asleep with a glass of alcohol beside her. And Sean's trying to deny it, saying that the media just spins things. Meanwhile, her nephew is saying that this happened about a month after the guardianship was enforced and she was taken away. He also adds that she gets offended if you bring up alcohol. So Sean tells us that Wendy is doing great, she's okay, and she's bouncing back. We then see, as she's saying this, Wendy lose track of time, and she gets nervous for a second because she thinks that she missed the meeting. And Sean says, it's okay, it's not time yet. And she begins to cry, and she says, they're gonna say yes. And when I show them my feet, and that this is the way that I want to look, they're going to say yes. And I can't wait to get back to New York and sell my gorgeous apartment. And tears are still coming down her face. Y'all, it's so concerning when you hear her saying things, but then you see her emote in certain ways, and her facial expression isn't changing, but the tears are flowing. We then get Kevin saying, my mom always talks about how she wants to work, but she's worked enough. Her health needs to be number one, not her getting a talk show. I want her to be put into a situation where work doesn't kill her. Then you have Travis saying, instead of them looking for work for her, they need to be looking for recovery, which makes sense to everybody else but the people who are currently around her, because as I said before, they're in it for financial gain. So Sean asks Wendy if she wants to go to the Oscars this weekend. Why would you even ask her if she wants to go to the Oscars when she can't put on any type of shoes but some boots? Are you kidding me? Wendy says, what's the Oscars? This coming from a woman that used to be able to tell you everything that was going on with every famous person. This coming from a woman who has been hated by so many because of how opinionated she is, and she doesn't know how or what the Oscars are. She didn't know that it was an award show. But her publicist doesn't feel like there's something off here. She didn't even get clearance from Wendy's doctors to find out if she could make this trip or that she would be okay to make this meeting. But here she is making money off of Wendy. So we don't get to see the meeting, but Sean comes out saying that the meeting was amazing. Who believes that? Put it in the comments if you believe it. There will be no comments. about believing it. It was a meeting full of women. And we find out that Wendy took off her boots and showed her feet. I cannot imagine what those execs, those people, whoever was in that meeting, thought when Wendy is sitting there showing them her shoes and letting them know that she wants to have her show wearing poom poom shorts, what they call them, Daisy Dukes, and tights and a Gucci shirt. Sean says it was very, very much a room full of people that are ready to see her back on TV. Come on. They didn't get an offer for the show. We see that later on. They're back in New York, and now Will pulls up to have a meeting with Sean and Wendy, and he doesn't want any cameras there. So he comes back down and says the meeting was very heated, that Sean said she's not trying to place him, and that Wendy told him she misses him and loves him. The Guardian is concerned, though, because she didn't know what was going on, and she does not know who Sean is. And that raises another question for me, because how is it that this Guardian's been put in place and she doesn't know who Sean is? Shouldn't she be having some form of constant interaction with Wendy, which would mean she would know who Sean is because she's being involved? He felt that the meeting in LA was a horrible decision, that she came back disheveled and adamant about drinking, and now she's at her apartment, according to Will, worse than she was before she left, sitting there trying to sell items for no reason, and now he's realizing that he's not enough and he needs additional help. The family wants her back with them. They feel like the Guardian, according to Kevin Jr., isn't doing her job. And Kevin points out that, Will is trying, but he's a jeweler, which we said all along, he wasn't really a manager. And Kevin Jr. fears that if something isn't done soon, that she could die. And that was the end of that episode. And I'm so excited that next episode will be it. Because, y'all, this is heavy and it's a lot to watch. And seeing this family seem like they're so up in the air. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to protect their aunt. And I'll be real, at this point for the family, I don't feel like it's about money. I feel like Kevin may have made some bad decisions. I feel like funds obviously weren't spent correctly. But if that's the case, allow her to have some type of financial help other than the Guardian. Like, get an actual financial advisor to help her. Give her some type of allowance for each week, each month, however they decide to work it out, and have it where that Kevin can't write the checks, or if he does, he has to clear it with the financial advisor or something like that. But she needs to be back with people who can really help her. And it seems to me like they need some type of aid or something like that, because until they can stop getting her to drink and really get that situation under control, she's definitely going to need 20-hour care. You all, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you thought about this part of the documentary. There are some things that I left out because it was redundant, but if you want to talk about it, feel free to put it down below. Until next time.